How's it going, everybody? This is Meltzer. We're going to spend 2 hours talking pro wrestling and mixed martial arts. Of course, we're going to be covering the TNA pay-per-view live. In the second hour, we will be joined by somebody from TNA, most likely Eric Young, who's going to be in a bikini contest. So his odds of injury, hopefully, are not too high, and unless, of course, he's called in for a run-in late in the show, and that nobody knows about. So anyway, Bryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
What's new?
Oh, not a whole lot.
Oh.
It's the, what is it now, the third straight week of pay-per-views on a Sunday night?
Fourth.
And another one next week.
Right. Next week would be the last of the 5 straight weeks. Yeah.
And what a pay-per-view tonight, Joe Angle 2. Too early?
yeah, several months too early.
Here's a question for you.
Oh, by the way, if anyone has seen the 60 Minutes piece on UFC, because we're on the West Coast, so we have not seen it, you can call us at 1-800-878-PLAY, because that could be based on the tone. I mean, it's fairly important. It's the biggest, probably the biggest media thing that they've ever had as far as the number of people that would see it, because everybody over the age of 35 watched 60 Minutes, which is basically the entire non-fan base of UFC.
Should it have aired at 4 o'clock our time, so 7 Eastern?
Right.
I haven't heard anything about it yet, so I wonder if it got bumped.
Would have been a last-second bump because they were still plugging it on the football games today.
Okay.
So, anyway, if you saw it, give us a call. And, of course, this pay-per-view is just starting. It's a 5-way with Jay Lethal and Alex Shelley, Senshi, Sanjay Dutt, and Austin Starr. In the dark match, it was... Well, not the dark match, but the pre-show match was Ron Killings and Lance Hoyt beat Serotonin, which is Frankie Kazarian, Maverick, Matt Bentley, and a new look, Johnny Devine and Raven caned Frankie Kazarian because he lost the fall, so I guess that's the gimmick there. Quite a lot going on since we were last year, including the ECW pay-per-view last Sunday, which will, I had some friends who missed it, and afterwards they said, we missed history, didn't we? And it's like, yeah, you did. It was a terrible show, and Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon had a falling out the next day, and Paul Heyman is, I don't know what he is exactly, but he's no longer the head writer of ECW.
He's at home.
Nor on the writing team, and he may not even be in the company. I don't think that, I guess we'll know tomorrow when Vince McMahon gets back from Iraq. By the way, the Christmas in Iraq show for Raw was actually taped on Friday. And nothing big happened there. I mean, as far as angles and stuff, they don't do angles, big angles on the show. It's just everyone just entertaining the troops. So there's no big news coming out of that one. And, of course, next week is Armageddon and Pride and WWE. Well, I don't think that WWE is going to buy Pride, but WWE is definitely looking into getting into mixed martial arts. That doesn't mean that they will, but they are very much looking at it. And Pride is... very much looking at selling. So,
don't forget UFC is coming up Wednesday.
Wednesday night UFC with Diego Sanchez and Joe Riggs from the Miramar Air Base near San Diego, and Josh Cossack, Jeff Jocelyn, and what was the other big one? Carl Parisian and Drew Fickett. And I think there's one more. It's a 4-match TV show. But they're all competitive matches, and I actually have been looking forward to this Wednesday show because I think it's going to be pretty good. Raw tomorrow is going to have Edge against Triple H, and John Cena against Armando Alejandro Estrada, and building up the big John Cena-Kevin Federline match on January the 1st. And not really much else new as far as the WWE is concerned. Can't really think of course, the financials. No giant news out of the financials. They're not about to go out of business anytime soon. And, of course, we had Strikeforce here on Friday night, which was an interesting night. It was, I guess overall it was a good show. The crowd was bigger than I expected and bigger than promoter Scott Coker expected as well. So in that sense, it was pretty much of a success. Show certainly had its low points and its high points. I got to tell you that Bobby Southworth Vernon Tiger White match.
That was quite a report you wrote on that one.
That match was horrible. It's a different degree of horrible. I was at the Tim Sylvia match with Jeff Monson, and this was so much worse.
And you were at the last Strikeforce.
What?
You were at the last Strike Force, too, with the Vitor fight.
Yeah, that was a terrible match, too. I think that one was terrible because it was two main eventers that weren't trying, and they were obviously there not to get hurt. This one, I don't think there was any lack of effort. I think that Vernon White was just in a funk and shut the match down, and Bobby Southworth was just going to do enough to win, which wasn't all that much that he needed to do. So he didn't do all that much, and it was 5 rounds, which 5 rounds are great for championship matches, except when they are like that. So but we had that, and Kurt Angle says he's going to do a shoot fight, which he never is, by the way. Just I think most people have recognized that by now, but he's still saying he's going to anyway.
Looks like 60 Minutes is on right now.
Okay, and?
So, just talking to Dana White. He's the man we can thank for the new UFC, that sort of thing.
Oh, God, if they say that Dana White changed those rules, that's just going to be horrible.
Well, apparently they're going to make the 700,000 announcement, and it's not like that's fully confirmed.
Well, they say it is.
Okay.
You know, I mean, they got their sources, too. It's not like 60 Minutes is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, they certainly have their TV sources, and they certainly have their pay-per-view sources. So they said 700,000 buys for the Matt Hughes BJ Penn match, which is unbelievable if that number's true, because if that is, the Tito and Chuck's going to do over $1 million.
Oh yeah.
Then she just pinned, I think it was Sanjay Dutt. I guess is this an elimination? This must be an elimination match because it's still going, and he didn't pin Sanjay Dutt.
It's always good when the rules are.
Yeah, they were made really clear.
Yeah.
Actually, he didn't pin Sanjay Dutt either because he's now, he just attempted to pin Sanjay Dutt. So he pinned, let's see, he just drop-kicked Jay Lethal, 1, 2, and 3. So it was Jay Lethal who he pinned with one of those Sua drop-kicks, you run and the guy flies after he gets drop-kicked. So anyway, that's where we're at. So I guess it's an elimination match.
60 Minutes mentioned the 700,000 buys and a study saying that MMA was safer than boxing.
It's not safer than boxing.
Oh,
what study is this?
I don't know. It was very vague.
Well, the fact that
it's probably the study that came out a couple of months ago that compared injuries and.
Okay, well, if it's the John Hopkins study, well, the one thing about that is if they use that, then they pretty much are running a positive piece, because the negative piece would be the one where they say that it's not safer than boxing. But the John Hopkins story, the actual number of injuries per capita. For UFC is slightly higher than boxing, but boxing has more brain injuries.
And
more serious long-term brain problems because of the repeated blows to the head. And there's less concussions in MMA, a lot less concussions than in boxing. But MMA would pick up, you're going to have more injuries like, your knees and your elbows and things like that you're not going to get so often in boxing.
It appears this is all positive. I can't actually hear anything, but...
That's amazing, I guess. Anyway, well, then it's a big day for MMA, isn't it?
This has been the year of UFC. I was looking back. I was doing the year in review, and this is, if anything, it's UFC's year, and UFC is maybe the one company that looks like it has a really positive 2007. As far as TNA and WWE, I don't really see, a lot of growth. Maybe TNA will have, if they get 2 hours, maybe, who knows. But Pride looks like it's doomed. WWE looks like it'll be the same exact thing for another year. TNA probably largely the same thing. And UFC, there's potential.
I wonder about growth. The thing is, UFC, if they just stay at the level that they're at as far as pay-per-view goes for another year, that'll be just a gigantic success. But I mean, UFC is planning on most of its, or a lot of its growth being international. They're looking at running England very soon, probably as soon as April. And they already have, they have an office there already in England. It's staffed and everything. To build for, but they want to do several shows this year in England, and then of course go to the rest of Europe. So there's a pin attempt here with Sanjay Dutt pinning Austin Starr, but Austin Starr just kicked out. We are going to start taking phone calls right now. So we're going to go to Ed in San Antonio. Ed, what's going on?
Hey, guys. What I want to talk about is you guys mentioned the Christmas in Iraq a little while ago. And I've been checking out, the blogs and the articles on the www.com. And I was wondering, you know, that they do a lot of sacrifices to go over there just in the trip itself. And I was wondering, do they get, I know it's like a charity thing, but do they get paid for this? Do they get bonuses for sacrifices?
The wrestlers?
Yes.
I don't think so.
So everything's totally
it's a voluntary thing that you're supposed to do, and you know, obviously, like with Rob Van Dam not doing it, you know, there's a lot of trouble. You know, you're pretty much, I don't say doomed, but you're in rough shape if you don't do it. But it's like voluntary that you have to do.
Okay, I know like Jim Van Dam refused to go last year too.
Yeah, he refused to go last year, and then he refused again this year when they put even more pressure on him. And you know, so I think I don't know that. You know, I don't know what Van Dam's relationship long-term with the company is going to be. Austin Starr just did a 450 and is pinning Sanjay Dutt, so Sanjay Dutt is out now. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you think, I've always been curious to why they don't do more of a push like on stuff like, you know, the Hollywood shows, the insider shows with them trying to promote the Christmas in Iraq. And
they actually do. I mean, they promote that show really hard. I mean, just wait until the week of Christmas. They'll be everywhere promoting it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. In fact, there's already articles out now that have been written as of the taping on Friday. So
yeah,
the push is just beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's going to be on a regular Friday night.
No, it's going to be on.
It'll be Raw.
Christmas Day on the Raw time slot. Raw's going to be taped out. You know, it was taped.
Oh, it's for the okay.
It'll be in the Raw time slot on Christmas night.
Okay. And also, in regards to UFC, I read that article you made note on your update, the one from here on San Antonio.
Yeah.
And I was actually when I saw the headline, I was kind of worried it was going to be because you know how these older guys are. They always like to just rip UFC apart. They don't understand it. And this guy actually, you know, he's a big boxing historian, and he actually, you know, it was a good article. And now you got the 60-minute piece. I mean, I think UFC is really, really on the verge of really, really breaking through more than they already are.
I will say this. I think, by the way, Senshi looks like he's got Austin Starr pinned with an inside cradle, so he's still around. I think that there's going to be a lot of media growth. I mean, I'm sure of it over the next year, where you're going to be seeing, because just an example, last night there was HBO boxing, and in the morning paper, you know, they had the results of the top matches, the top 3 matches or so on that card. And come Wednesday, when they have the Spike UFC, I mean, there's not going to be anything in our paper, you know, on the results of that. Or, you know, I don't think that they will cover Tito and Chuck. I'm almost sure they've never. I mean, our paper has never covered the results of a UFC yet. And you know, Tito and Chuck, you know, is going to be bigger than any boxing. You know, it'll outdo any boxing match this year, including De La Hoya Mayorga when it comes to buys. So, you know, there's still. It's kind of amazing to me that there's this lag time of, you know, like whatever it is, what we would call popularity with media acceptance, and there's still a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Looks like that match is over, by the way, that 5-way. So I don't know. I think Senshi won. So anyway, maybe you only had to eliminate some people, or maybe could it be eliminated by going over the top ropes? Because I
heard the bell ringing in an announcement, so it's definitely over.
Yeah. Because Eric Young is in his robe waiting for his bikini contest right now. So anyway, but yeah, I read that article, and it's funny because when I first heard about it, I mean, people who had sent it to me were negative about the article, and I read the article, and I thought it was a good article. I thought it was you know, they didn't like the fact that he was kind of saying he's not really a UFC fan and he's a boxing fan, but in the end he said that, like, you know, he's open-minded enough to know that, you know, he thinks this thing's going to replace boxing. The other thing that I think is interesting is I don't know that, you know, I don't know which is threatened more by UFC, or if either is threatened at all by UFC when it comes to boxing or professional wrestling, but you don't see any media, I don't say any, but you see very little media talking about UFC's threatening professional wrestling. They're all saying threatening boxing. And from a demographic standpoint, the UFC audience and the pro wrestling audience are far more similar than the UFC audience and the boxing audience.
Wouldn't you think that it would be more of a threat to... Wouldn't it make sense to be more of a threat to boxing, though?
Logically, it would make sense to be more of a threat to boxing because they're both combat fighting sports, and the idea that the people my age grew up with was that the boxers were the toughest real fighters, and obviously UFC...
And this is like the evolution.
Yeah, UFC threatens that vision, you know, and that's one of the reasons why the boxing people resent it. But at the same time, the rules of UFC are much closer to the, quote, rules of professional wrestling, and the audience of professional wrestling that wanted to take professional wrestling somewhat serious, even though they understood what it was, the cartoonish aspect of current professional wrestling, because I know with all of my friends, I mean, you know, they've all stopped watching wrestling and they watch UFC, and it hasn't, you know, changed their interest, yay or nay, in boxing one bit. I mean, they, you know, we still watch the boxing matches.
You know what I think part of it might be is that in a perfect world, you could separate pro wrestling and MMA because there are certain things that pro wrestling can do because it's a work sport that UFC can't necessarily do. And I think part of the problem now might be that many of those aspects, creating stars, personalities, grudge matches, UFC is doing a better job. So it would almost be competing for that audience.
For grudge match audience, I think that it's, you know what I'm saying? It's like, because professional wrestling grudge matches, no one believes in any of them.
No. But I mean, it's not even so much nobody believes in them. Nobody cares.
But that's because I think that the context of professional wrestling has been made so unbelievable that you know what I'm saying? If you presented professional wrestling in a context where the context was believable, I think that they would accept the grudge matches. But when you present it as so unbelievable, the grudge matches and the angles just become, you know, filler. You know, basically every angle is just filler. You know, angles aren't really, for the most part, making you watch the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or buy a pay-per-view. Tracy Brooks just did whatever she just did, and
I went in the other room. I thought I was watching Raw. Doesn't it look exactly like Raw? You've got the ring with the wacky thing in the corner, the little tree, and the lights and the goofy camera.
Yeah.
It's like watching Raw.
Yeah. And Eric Young's Eugene.
He is.
I know. So that means, I don't know what that means in the long run, but
we got a question here, by the way, if you know the answer. Why didn't Triple H go to Iraq?
Why didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't have an answer. Stephanie may have wanted him home for the week. Maybe just, you know, only, oh, geez. This wasn't good. Eric is wearing a T-shirt with a bikini drawn on it, and he's, like, pointing to his head like he outsmarted everyone.
Wow, a swerve.
It's a swerve. And I think Bobby Roode is, I think maybe he's telling him that he's cheating or something. So, does that mean that they're going to pull the T-shirt off of him? I don't know what they're going to do. Anyway.
Could this possibly have sold one pay-per-view?
What?
Could this possibly have sold one pay-per-view?
No. No. The only thing that possibly would have sold anything on this pay-per-view is the Samoa Joe Kurt Angle too. And I don't know if that's strong enough to do the numbers.
I thought that some of the stuff that they did, some of the interviews and such on Thursday were really good.
The interviews on Thursday were great.
It just
they
struck
replayed
me
them on the pregame show too. Yeah, that was good. When the Impact show was over, I mean, the only thing, I mean, I just thought like nothing mattered except for that. Oh, Eric's now down to his SpongeBob underwear. So anyway, thought you wanted to know that. Yeah, I thought that was really good, and there was like nothing else on the show that I thought meant anything.
So it was almost like they, aside from the actual 5-minute match with 6 stars or whatever, where Angle pinned him clean with one angle slam, the actual interviews and everything like that, I thought, you know, that's what they should have done before the first match. And now we're about to have the second match, and it's almost like there hasn't been enough time to care again. I mean, we saw it.
Oh, I completely agree.
We got a clean finish, and I mean, among my friends and among, you know, feedback that I get from the website, there's no buzz for this. It seems. I don't know if you felt it different.
I don't feel like, to me, I don't feel like it's going to do anywhere close to the last one. But I mean, we'll have a pretty good idea tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, but he just now he took off his underwear and now he's in SpongeBob briefs. It looks
great.
Like. And everyone's laughing. So anyway, this is just, and I wonder if that means that he cheated, because he's getting a big pop and Tracy Brooks looks unhappy and we see people in the audience laughing and he's laughing, and that's our show. Okay, let's go to James in Tallahassee. James, what's going on? James, you there? you're not there, we're going to go to Jerome in Florida. Jerome, are you there?
I'm here. It's Jeff.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing fine.
How about that Paul Heyman, huh?
Yeah, how about Paul Heyman?
It's kind of like the same record. It keeps spinning and spinning, and they keep putting it back on, and I don't know. I want to commend you for your issue of The Observer, though, that came out this weekend about that.
You like
really? I wanted to commend you about the issue of The Observer that came out this weekend.
Uh-huh. Oh.
And just about Paul Heyman.
Oh, you like it?
Oh, I loved it. It was just,
thank you.
It reminded me of the one you did a few years ago when ECW went out of business, and you actually, I guess, met with Heyman, and that was really good too. It's like history keeps repeating itself.
Wait, are you in Florida?
Yeah.
How'd you get The Observer already?
I had him email it to me because I'm out of town.
You cheated.
So,
you did cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to cheat. But honestly, everybody at home, you'll like this issue a lot, especially the ECW fans. It'll give you a different perspective. So what is Heyman's options now?
What's the status now?
Yeah.
Nothing new since the issue went out. I mean, Vince McMahon's getting back tomorrow, and he'll make a decision on whether Paul's with the company or not with the company. But Paul's off the writing team, and if he's going to do something, it's probably going to. I couldn't even tell what he's going to do. I suppose they could send him back and do developmental, which, believe me, I just watched some OVW, and
they need the help.
It wouldn't be the worst idea because OVW is just
I recommend sending back a few of the guys on the roster too while we're at it.
What?
Just get another giant box to send to Ohio Valley.
Yeah,
a couple guys from all three brands.
Wasn't that funny that they send that box with all those guys, and then Ken Doan's on television the very next week?
I figured they didn't put enough postage on, and so he got sent back.
Also, about my other question, because Paul Heyman, he's a big MMA fan. Do the people in wrestling get it yet about MMA? Do the decision makers in wrestling get it about MMA?
I think they get that it's hot.
Yeah, they all know it's hot, and they all want to do something with it, but they don't know exactly what to do with it. But as far as if the correct reaction to MMA being so hot this year and taking off is that people want a more believable product, no, they don't get it. If you're thinking, do they get the fact that MMA is hot? As much as, it's been hot since February, I think in the last 2 months they have started figuring out that it is.
But do they understand that it's also the believability, but also they do better storylines in UFC, and even when I saw Pride a few weeks ago, than they do in wrestling today.
Okay, that aspect, no one in wrestling gets. I should say no one, but 90% of the people I know in wrestling do not get that at all. In fact, they are totally clueless to the fact of that because they think that since they do more storylines and more wacky storylines, that they are doing better storylines when in fact they're doing worse storylines. Robert Roode just walked out on Tracy Brooks for losing the contest.
Oh gosh, who cares?
And there's a locker room that says "dumb to the extreme," which I guess is for Kip and BG mocking DX.
What happened with that? Them going
dumb to the extreme?
Oh my God! They've got a fat guy. I bet he's going to be in a thong. Oh my God! Now that's actually kind of funny. He's knocking on the door, acting to be let in.
Oh no!
Oh, this is. I don't know who it is, but they didn't show if he's wearing a thong or not. They just showed him shirtless. That might be funny, actually.
Oh no!
I don't know. Some of the stuff. I thought the stuff on Thursday, actually on the TNA. Not that this helped the pay-per-view or helped the product any, but I thought that the Kevin Nash stuff was very funny, and I thought that the DX stuff was the funniest it's been so far. I mean, the Kip James stuff was like, to me, it was one of those things where it was so bad that it was good. Which
no!
I don't know, Brian. Did you think it was bad?
The one thing I thought was funny was when B.G. James was in the theater and there was one guy there, because I thought, I was in that theater. The rest of the stuff, I just look at it like, what is it leading to? Nothing. It's taken time away from trying to promote a pay-per-view this Sunday.
Yeah.
And, great, it can be funny, but what's that doing for you?
I think
how many?
Especially when they cry about only having an hour.
Yeah, I think if they had a 2-hour show to break up the monotony, what they did on Thursday was pretty good. But when it was over, that was one of the things when the show on Thursday was over was like, it was good, but boy, except for except for those interviews, nothing made me care about the pay-per-view, and it's, it's 2 days later, or 3 days later, actually. So, yeah. Anything else, James?
No, it was good talking to y'all. Sorry before that the audio wasn't coming in well, and I couldn't hear you guys well on my end either. Okay, Karen, good luck with everything. Enjoy the holiday.
Christopher Daniels and Chris Sabin are in the ring with Jerry Lynn as referee, and I think Chris Sabin must have had a bedwetting problem because in an interview, actually this was before the show, Jerry Lynn told Chris Sabin that he was in the X Division doing X Division matches when Chris Sabin was still in diapers. That's 4 years ago.
That's crazy.
I know, because that's when the X Division was formed. So that was pretty, unless there's just a timeline problem that I'm missing somewhere. By the way, Bryan, when we were talking about who's got more to, excuse me, to fear, I suppose, by the rise in MMA, whether it's boxing or professional wrestling. I mean, and again, it's, the jury is, excuse me, I've got a terrible cough, but the jury is still out on that, but the one thing is HBO Boxing had its best year in 7 years, and WWE, when it comes to domestic, which was the only place where they went head-to-head because UFC doesn't have the international pay-per-view coverage, that WWE did not have its best year in the last 7 years. And in fact is, again, I think that this Armageddon show and what was the show, the October pay-per-view show, and ECW show may all be pretty close to record lows.
I sort of predicted about 130,000 domestic for ECW.
Okay.
For I'd say 165 for the one coming up from SmackDown.
No way.
You don't think so?
165 domestic? No way.
I'll predict 165.
No way. No, it won't even come close to that. Unless that fire match has some lure that I don't see it having. Because the Hearst match is, the last ride's not going to mean anything with the third meeting of Undertaker and Kennedy. And I don't think so far they have not promoted the fire match, because with the fire match at least is something unique. That tag match isn't going to drive pay-per-view orders. Not when John Cena's on Raw, not even acknowledging it.
I should mention one thing, that the first week that they made the announcement of the matches, they had 3 matches announced, I believe, and only 2 for the ECW pay-per-view, by the way. But they had 3 matches announced, and it was the Inferno match and the Last Ride match. And they didn't explain what either of these matches were.
That's okay. I just watched a match like that.
I think they probably should have explained, given some sort of explanation as to the fact that fire would be involved. And in fact, when I heard Last Ride match, I thought, is it who does the power bomb first? I seriously had no idea they were doing the Hers until like the next week.
Yeah, they pretty much explained both of them on Friday.
Yeah, they did better this week. I'm talking the week before, though.
Yeah.
I mean, what good is it announcing them an extra week in advance if no one knows what they are?
Yeah. No way they're doing 165. No chance. No chance. I would say 145. Okay?
Okay,
Tops.
we'll write those down.
Tops, and maybe lower.
Could be.
Yeah.
There are too many pay-per-views, but
it's too many straight weeks of pay-per-views. Plus, it's not a good card. Plus, the money match, which is the Cena Batista match, is not a title match, and it's got Fit Finlay in it, which is actually good for the match, but it's not good for the draw. And Cena didn't acknowledge it on Raw, and I don't think that the idea of Cena and Batista as a dream team. Again, they still got another. They've got another 1 or 2 shows? They got 1 show, right?
So they've got Raw, and they've got...
Raw's not even going to mention it, so they don't got Raw. They got SmackDown on Friday. Is the only last show to build it up. So Cena's going to have to appear on the TV, I'm guessing, to drive it home. If Cena's on the TV on Tuesday, I would say pretty tough.
On Tuesday? For ECW?
The Tuesday taping for Friday.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Friday TV, yeah. The taping in Boston on Tuesday. So if they don't have that, I don't see anything. I would be surprised if they got to 145. I just think that there's too many things going against it.
I think that a lot of people skip the ECW show and thus there aren't successive pay-per-views. So I'm thinking maybe. I'll say 165. We'll put that one down.
Okay, well, we can put that down. Okay, let's go to Jerome in Florida. Jerome, what's going on? Hello? I can't. Can you hear him?
I hear Randy Savage.
Yeah, we're having trouble with the phones.
Bad connection.
Yeah. We'll go try Sean in Alabama.
Hey, what's going on now?
What's going on?
Hey, I was just wondering, for the WrestleMania, I've heard the past couple of 3 years, now mind you, I've been overseas in the desert, so I've been hearing on the internet and through the different newsletters that there's been talk of The Rock coming back and possibly doing a show with Randy Savage. Now, I know...
Boy, you've heard something I will tell you this, you've heard something that is not going to happen.
The Rock and Randy Savage?
It was mentioned for 20 and 21, yeah.
Well, no chance. There was never any chance of that. At any point, at no point in any time was that ever mentioned. Or.
Oh, okay.
I'm
sorry.
Brian, I'm trying to remember. I think that Rock once mentioned to me that he would be interested in wrestling Randy Savage like a year or two ago, but I think that just because he'd never done it.
Yeah.
But Randy Savage, it's not going to happen, and Randy Savage isn't going to be at WrestleMania this year unless something major changes, and The Rock is not going to be at WrestleMania this year unless something major changes as well. So, not happening.
So what?
It was never close. It was never close to happening.
Oh, okay. So what are they planning for any type of major draw for? I mean, they're putting it in.
Hulk Hogan and the Big Show, which is far from indefinite, very far from indefinite. But that's certainly something that's been talked about. Hogan.
Hogan and Show after the last week, the body's not making him mean much anymore unless Show gains 100 pounds while he's gone, or 400.
Well, my
and I don't know.
What's funny is Hogan's back playing the game.
Yes,
he told Bubba he's interested in going to TNA, which is part of his game at this time of the year that he does every year. And
that might be part of his talent contract, so he can book other companies.
Might be.
And Big Show's contract will be up before Mania, and Hogan's going to negotiate for Big Show. Is what I don't know that as a fact, but that's kind of like what I've been. One of Show's friends kind of hinted that one to me that Show is going to kind of leave it in Hogan's hands so he can negotiate both guys' deal. So Show figures he can get more money that way. So it's going to be a very interesting game if that match takes place. It's going to be definitely on their terms and not Vince's terms. Or I think that their feeling is that Vince needs the match because without that match, it can't be the 20th anniversary of Hogan and Andre without Hogan and Big Show.
Yeah. Well, what I was wondering is I'm looking down who they have on the card right now or who they have on their rosters. And where do they plan on putting 65,000 people in to see what?
Yeah, that's not a problem. They've already sold 55,000 tickets now, and they've got months to go. So, I mean, selling live tickets will not be a problem for WrestleMania this year or probably for many years to come. So that people buy tickets for WrestleMania before they even know what the card is. So that's the pay-per-views. Oh my God, Chris Daniels did something so. Oh, Brian, you're just gonna hate. Did you see that?
I didn't see it.
Chris Daniels came off the middle ropes to the floor with an elbow drop, landing right on his hip, not on the mat, I mean on the floor.
Why?
Well, and he looked like he's hurting so bad. He just grabbed his hip. He's holding his hip right now. I mean, maybe some of it's a sell, maybe most of it's a sell, but maybe it's not. Why? I mean, just watch that. It's like, why did you do that? He's limping up, Wow. Anyway.
Well, it is Turning Point 2006.
Yeah.
The other question I did have is for Randy Orton and John Cena. Is there any plan for them to have the match at WrestleMania that I knew that they had? What was it? A couple years back that with the push with Randy Orton, they got.
There is definitely a shot of that one. Yes. I mean, it's not like that's 100% locked in, but yes, it's definitely a plan or something that's been talked about. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say I got to see them or him in Germany when they were doing that whole big push with him, when he got de-pushed right after the September pay-per-view, and I thought there might have been plans for it at WrestleMania, but, Vince. But, all right, thank you, guys.
Okay, very welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to, is it Richard in Baltimore?
Hey, guys, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. What's going on?
All right, just had a couple questions. I'm a big fan of TNA and definitely Ring of Honor. I've been a wrestling fan for 17 years, and the state of the WWE now, I rarely watch it unless I just flip through the channel. But I'm curious of two things. First of all, does TNA and Ring of Honor have some type of talent relationship with one another? Because I'm pretty much surprised that, Samoa Joe signed with TNA, but occasionally he'll still go back and forth with Ring of Honor as well as
most Ring of Honor shows. TNA books its talent to indies, and Ring of Honor, they will pick the ones, they could get pretty much, except for Kurt Angle. I think they can get anyone from TNA that if they want to pay the price for them. But the ones, they use Daniels and Joe a lot, and they may use other guys from time to time.
Mm-hmm. And I was always surprised because I was wondering, what if somebody gets a serious injury on Ring of Honor? Does that jeopardize their...
Well, you can always get hurt. Working indies. But, these guys, like Daniels and AJ and all of them are working a lot of indie dates.
Right.
So they could just as easily get hurt anywhere. Ring of Honor is a very rough style.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys, when they go to Ring of Honor because they want to keep pace with all those young, hungry guys,
right.
they're not phoning it in by any means. They're working real hard. I heard Joe worked real hard the last 2 nights in Chicago, and he's got the big match tonight. So, yeah, you can always get hurt, but that's the nature of the beast in professional wrestling. And if you're in WWE, you're working several house shows between pay-per-views, and you can always get hurt as well.
Exactly. And my second question was, with Ring of Honor, I like the way they're doing things just strictly with DVD. I'm a huge fan of Bryan Daniels, and he reminds me so much of Bob Backlund, but with a little bit more of his own style. Is there any
Bryan Daniels is a million times better than Bob Backlund, but
yeah.
The only thing they have got going is neither had a tan.
Do you ever see Ring of Honor maybe doing, not saying on a monthly basis, but maybe once or twice a year, maybe a pay-per-view?
No, because that's when you start. Daniels, by the way, just won with a moonsault, won this match, but that's where you start getting into high risk and potentially losing money. And also, the truth is that Ring of Honor would do terrible if they were put on pay-per-view. You can only do pay-per-view. You have mass television. And as great a product as they have, and I think that they're very well aware of it, I don't think that we will, I don't think we'll ever see it. I don't want to say ever, but I don't think we're going to be seeing a Ring of Honor pay-per-view for a long, long time to come. I wish they had them. I'd rather watch them once a month than any of the groups that are doing pay-per-view, quite frankly, including UFC, because I love those Ring of Honor house shows, but it's not going to happen. Something happened at the end of the Daniels-Sabin match because they ended up with a big pull-apart with Jerry Lynn and Christopher Daniels. So, anyway.
Jerry Lynn and Chris Daniels.
Yeah, I think Jerry Lynn slapped Daniels in the face, and they had the referees pulling them apart, and I don't know exactly what happened, but... oh my God! Here comes the big angle, and it's David Eckstein is coming to the ring with Jim Cornette, and there's somebody with him. I think it might be another baseball player. I don't know who that is, but Jim Cornette. I think I'm pretty sure that's another baseball player.
Are they going to organize a softball game?
This is supposed to be a big angle. I'm serious. I don't know what it is. So something's going to happen here. I don't know what else. Anything new on the 60 Minutes thing?
Nothing.
Okay. Someone else is coming out, and who is this? I see 2 more people who I don't recognize, but one has a big trophy. Oh, no, this is David Eckstein. I'm sorry. David Eckstein's got his World Series MVP trophy.
Uh-oh. That trophy's in danger.
Trophy. Oh, my God. Here's what happened.
That was quite an angle.
Yeah, it was.
Especially the fans chanting, "We want wrestling."
I didn't see that. A.J. Brzezinski and Dale Torborg were there, and David Eckstein, who doesn't have a lot of charisma, came out with his brother, and he was promoting his book, and they handed a copy of the book to Dale Torborg, who started ripping the pages out of the book, and A.J. Brzezinski and Dale Torborg were just kind of making fun, and then it turned physical, and Dale Torborg decked Jim Cornette, I believe, and decked David Eckstein's brother, and then they held David Eckstein, and Dale Torborg did, and A.J. Brzezinski was going to give him a belt shot, and Lance Hoyt made the save and gave a high kick to...
Lance Hoyt got the rub.
Lance Hoyt. Can you imagine that this is going to, you know, this thing is supposed to be on ESPN tonight. It's supposed to be in Sports Illustrated, and it's freaking Lance Hoyt.
That's the guy that needed the rub.
You know why? Probably it's usual, the usual line of thinking. You know, because remember when they did the thing with A.J. Brzezinski when he was a babyface last year, and they gave it to Simon Diamond, who's not even seen anymore, and Ilk Skipper, and David Young, who also they're not even seen anymore. So it's kind of like they give the angle to people that because they have no ideas on what to do with them. And you know, when WrestleMania came along in 1985. And actually before, in 1984, when Cyndi Lauper and they decided to involve them, you know, it's like, oh, let's involve Cyndi Lauper with some guy like Mike Sharp. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't put Mike Tyson with the Goon.
Yeah, I know. Oh well, that's that. But hey, they're gonna get more. They'll get some mainstream attention out of it. I don't know what it's gonna mean, but it at least gets the name out there.
God, does that mean we're going to have to watch a tag match with the baseball players?
I don't think that Eckstein's going to do something. I could see maybe we'll get a Lance Hoyt-Dale Torborg match at the next pay-per-view, which, you know, or maybe in the pregame show, I don't know, which whatever.
Nothing like getting all that publicity for a pregame match.
Yeah. They're, Rhino, you know, it's sad. Rhino and AJ Styles are like brawling in the stands right now before their match, or actually maybe the match has already started. And there's a fan who looks like he's about 6'4", and he's heckling AJ, and he's like, AJ looks so little next to him.
That's always great.
Yeah, but anyway, that's what's going on. AJ Styles and Rhino are in the ring right now, and match is still going on. And we are going to go next to, is it Matt in Boston? Matt, are you there?
Yeah, hello, Dave, Bryan. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
I just want to talk about the Noah situation that just has popped up now. Misawa, the 44-year-old owner of the company, I mean, everything that, beats Marufuji for the title for 2 months, and now Morishima is going to come and beat Misawa. I understand what they're doing, but was the Marufuji dropping the title purely like attendance-based, or what's the deal there? He dropped it 2 months, he had no reign whatsoever, and automatically he's out?
I think it's actually based on the fact that, you know, the last show, they couldn't sell tickets. And that's the realization. And Misawa, you know, people wanted Misawa to win, basically, or were accepting of it. And I think the other reason is that, and I don't know that Morishima's winning, but I think there's a pretty good shot that he is on the next show, the next Budokan show. It'll mean a whole lot more for Morishima to beat Misawa for his first title run than beat Marufuji.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I think that the whole idea has always been that Morishima's the guy. It was just a question of how to get there, and I think that they wanted to at least give the people a taste of the junior heavyweight as champion, because they know that in the future, no matter who the champion is, that they're going to have some of these junior heavyweight guys, whether it's, you know, Marufuji or Kenta or somebody else, and, you know, challenge for the title, and they need to get people ready for that they can actually win.
I have no problem with Morishima being the guy. I like Morishima. It's just the fact that Marufuji now, he's tossed aside, and he's not floundering because they can find something for him to do, but I think it takes a lot of his steam away from the guy, just being, hey, here you go, yeah, just a quick pedal rein now.
I think the fact that he just won it when nobody expected that he would win it is, you know, because the people were not. I mean, I saw the last show, and as great as that match was with Marufuji and Kenta, I mean, it was so clear to me, I mean, from the minute that match started, that those people in the crowd were very standoffish and indifferent to the idea that these two guys are, you know, it was, and people who were there live even told me the same thing. It's like the feeling in the crowd was these two guys should be fighting for the junior heavyweight title, not the heavyweight title. They didn't accept Marufuji in the spot. And hopefully it's the beginning of an education process, and they're teaching them that at some point to do so, but, you know, they don't yet. And so I think that's just the way it turned out.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, a lot.
Okay. Match still going on. We'll go to Sean in North Carolina. Sean, are you there?
Hey, Dave. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
All right. First of all, I just want to say I listened to Bryan's podcast, and if no one's listening to Bryan's podcast or subscribes to his website, they're missing the full Monty of Bryan Alvarez. Quite a character. I watched the 60 Minutes report. It was very positive. It wasn't very hard-hitting. They didn't bring up anything really nasty. It was pretty soft piece, actually. It's very positive. I forget who the reporter was, but he...
Was it Solly?
It was some gray-haired guy. He's one of the newer guys. I don't know his name.
Uh-huh.
He mixed it up with a couple of the guys, like, had on some kind of sweatsuit and grappled with them and let them choke them a little bit. And,
yeah, they did. They're doing something which I presume is an angle, by the way. Let me say real quick. Rhino backdropped AJ Styles over the top rope, and AJ Styles is acting like he blew out his left knee. And they've got medics out there and everything like that, and they're holding the match up. So anyway, that's what's going on right now. Yeah, I mean, I knew that they had him train, I think, with, Pat Miletich and Enzo Gracie?
Yeah, they showed something at the Gracie school and at the other school. So, I mean, it was a pretty good piece. I mean, I think UFC would be crazy not to be happy with how the piece came off. I had one other question. This Hyman thing, what exactly was the breaking point for it? I mean, what was this last blow-up specifically about, or was it a...
It was the pay-per-view. Everybody blamed everyone because that pay-per-view was a disaster as far as fan acceptance. And, Heyman blamed Vince for wanting things a certain way, and Vince blamed Heyman for wanting things a certain way, and they both blamed the other one for the show being bad. And it got so much negative publicity that somebody was going to get it, and Vince is the one who's never wrong, so...
Vince wasn't going to get it.
Yeah, that's just how it turns out, exactly.
But that's so funny. Didn't anybody ever realize that the things Hyman probably wanted, he wasn't getting? Nobody noticed that?
The timing thing?
No.
Let me tell you about that timing thing. The problem with that show ending early, okay, that cannot be blamed on any one person. Oh, AJ Styles just ran in, 1, 2, did he pin him? You won't believe this. Actually, you will believe this, Bryan. AJ Styles ran in, he's been selling the knee, right? He runs into the ring, darts into the ring. Schoolboy's Rhino holds the trunks. The camera is panning on Dave Penzer. We missed the pin, then they flash back in. We missed the 3 count.
Shocked.
I know you're shocked. Anyway, so AJ won the match, and Rhino is chasing AJ to the back. And almost catching him.
Well, he's got a bad knee.
AJ better run faster. Okay, well, they're gone. We'll never hear about them again. And the referee looks very upset at being swerved by AJ Styles.
It's in like Mexico where they can DQ you for lying.
Are you kidding? Look who runs this company.
You get DQ'd for pulling the trunks.
Well, they didn't DQ him for pulling the trunks here. They change the rules as they go along. Kind of like the California State Athletic Commission mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I just wondered now...
Oh, you were going to tell the story about the timing issue.
I'm sorry. Okay. That thing, when a show goes through, that goes through so many different people that, like, it's not only one person's fault, it's many people's fault. And now you tell me that when you've got about an hour to go, someone's harassing the new interview girl, who, by the way, she's looking a lot cuter today than she's done on the TV before. They had her hair done differently. I don't know who it is, but it's the back of someone who's supposed to be Vince McMahon, who's holding a cage with a rooster in it. I have a feeling this may not be funny, but anyway. So the point being is that when you have an hour left in the show, you cannot blame Vince McMahon or Paul Heyman. You got to blame everyone because and he's doing the Vince walk. Anyway, that was nice. And Mike Tenay and Don West are laughing. So where are we?
Basically, you're saying everybody's at fault for the show being going long. They're going short.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think everybody's to blame for the whole debacle.
Everyone, absolutely. I mean. Here's the thing. That thing goes through so many editing processes that it's like, Vince has to, in the end, again, when things are good or things are bad, it's like when someone comes up and goes like, who came up with this stupid idea? Who's to blame? The answer, is not who comes up with it, but who approves it. And when it's a great idea, it's Vince's watch. By the way, AJ and Rhino are back fighting. I have no idea why. But they're getting into the ring, and now they're doing a pull-apart, which, at least, I wonder how many pull-aparts we're going to have. That should be the over and under on this show. Like, I love the pull-aparts TNA does, except when they do so many of them, and they all look the same, and this is, like, the perfect example of it, where somebody is about to break free and sucker punch the other guy. I'm just waiting for it.
Hey, Dave, one quick thing. I hang up the phone. You should do your shows on these pay-per-view Sundays, because, quite frankly, I think most fans would rather listen to your show than watch any of these other pay-per-views.
Well, thank you for the compliment. The only problem is I have no choice. I must watch these pay-per-views. It's part of my lot in life, which many Sundays is not that bad, and then every now and then you got a Sunday like last week where
it's bad.
When it was over and you're just thinking, there was like no redeeming value out of that show whatsoever, other than it was history, and history isn't always the best. AMW and LAX in a flag match next, and James Storm is drinking his beer, and Gail Kim is doing whatever Gail Kim does. Oh, Bryan, Mirko Cro Cop. What do you think?
Well, as far as
Mirko
going to
Cro Cop
UFC,
is going to be making a decision.
Oh, it's tomorrow, isn't it?
Actually, it was supposed to be today.
It would have been, yeah. So,
I believe he's made the decision, but I don't know for sure.
To me, I mean, it's sort of hard to make the decision because we don't really know. I mean, we have a pretty good idea of what the deal is with Pride, but we don't know for certain. But I think if I were
we
him,
don't actually know the numbers on paper either.
Huh?
We don't know what's being offered by either side either.
Yeah. I mean, all things being equal, I would go to UFC. You're more likely to still have a job in a year.
I don't think he needs to worry about that.
Yeah, I guess if you're in Pride and goes out of business, you're getting your job in the other place.
I mean, if you're like, Kazuhiro Nakamura or something, it's one thing. But if you're Mirko Cro Cop, he's going to have a high-paying job next year as long as he doesn't get hurt, no matter what. I mean, even if it's not UFC, there's going to be 20 more startups in the United States. After the 60 Minutes report is favorable, and you know what?
Oh, yeah.
Where we blew it? We should have bought IFL stock last week.
Let me see what IFL is at right now, actually.
Well, no, I know what it's at now, but I mean, it's where it's going to be at the end of the trading tomorrow. I mean, because it's not going up today after this report.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's another issue.
With Cro Cop, I think if I were Cro Cop, I would get my fight with Fedor one way or the other, and I think that would be a determining factor. Because I think that it's not so much the money in his case, but I think he really wants to beat Fedor. And, I think that he's got one fight left, but if Fedor leaves after his last fight, then,
Well, I mean, unless he calls up Fedor and just goes, where are you going next?
Yeah.
Because
if Fedor lies.
That's right. Gail Kim just did a moonsault off the top ropes to the floor on Homicide. Just wanted to alert you. She is holding her stomach.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I don't think she didn't look like she got hurt on that one though. She looked like that was a pretty smooth landing. Okay. I think UFC. I don't think it's any secret that UFC wants somebody to beat Tim Sylvia real fast.
I do.
Everyone does. But
he's a tough man to beat.
What?
He's a tough man to beat.
He's got a tough style to beat. I mean, like it's like the same as Nikolai Valuev in boxing. Have you seen Nikolai Valuev, by the way?
I have not.
Okay. He's actually bigger than Sylvia.
Is he the giant hairy guy?
He's a big hairy guy who's
I have seen him.
Kind of Andre-looking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you watch you get a guy that big, and it's just reach is just so important in boxing that it's he's not that skilled, but if you're that size and you have enough stamina to like get through the fight, you're pretty hard. It's a pretty hard deal to crack.
Well, it's really like
Well, send me show another example.
Yeah, those big, tall guys. It's almost in some cases like you've got a grown man in with a child. You can have a very skilled child, but this dude is still so big and so strong with such a long reach that, you know, they're very tough to beat. I mean, when Tim Sylvia first won that title, I thought, oh, Andre Arlovski will win it back fast. And once that thing fell off a cliff, it's like, okay, well, who can beat this guy?
Fedor.
It's not really like Tim Sylvia is the greatest fighter in the world. It's just he's a hard man to beat.
Yeah.
So yeah, Fedor or maybe Krokop or somebody of that nature, but
Krokop maybe Krokop with leg kicks.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would bet Krokop in that fight.
Yeah, because look at what Krokop did to Yoshida with leg kicks.
Yeah.
You know, not that you know, I mean, Yoshida's got, you know, bad knees and everything, but I mean, it's like the one thing is a leg kick can work on a big guy if the big guy's not, you know. The problem with it, like someone like Semi Schilt is that, you know, you just can't get near him because he has those front kicks going for him, and that's just a killer, whereas Tim is really just the boxing. So perhaps you can get the leg kicks. Ooh, God. Homicide took a backdrop, and it was supposed to be on the ladder, but it was only half on the ladder. So a lot of guys are going to be hurting bad tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Chris Harris just took a, what's that thing called? The Cracker Jack on a ladder. So, yeah, I don't know. They definitely want Krokop next year, UFC, and we may know within hours where that one went. But the rumor has it that he has already made up his mind. He just has not announced it yet. So,
any news on Pride as far as the pay-per-view in the U.S.? Are we getting one? Is it a week late? What are they doing?
New Year's Eve. It's a 17 hours delay, so we're going to get on New Year's Eve. So it's going to be a crazy weekend.
God, so let's see. It would be Saturday UFC, Sunday Pride.
And Sunday IFL Championship.
And Sunday IFL.
Which will be taped away from it's taped Friday night, but it's going to air on FSN on Sunday night. So that's going to be an absolutely insane weekend.
Oh, yeah.
That might be when I get my divorce, huh?
You better hope to survive 2006.
What?
You better
hope to
I know.
It's touch and go surviving 2006.
That should be your New Year's resolution every year. Make it through this year without the divorce.
I know, really. No, actually, I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll go to Vegas on Saturday, and I'll have to rush back for Sunday. You know, I mean, that's certainly something that I'm talking about doing. The only problem is that I don't think there's any tickets left for the Liddell fight either.
Yeah, you have to be.
I just heard on the Liddell fight that listen to this that John McCarthy and Randy Couture just asked for like an extra ticket or two to come. I mean, don't worry. Like John McCarthy's going to be refereeing, so he's going to come, and his wife's got a ticket.
I thought McCarthy. Oh, he's refereeing on the show. Okay.
Right, and Randy's announcing on the show, so he's not like he's going to be locked out. But they asked for tickets for like like one or two friends, and they were turned down.
Wow.
So I think that it's not easy to get tickets for that show right about now. Hernandez has just grabbed the Mexican flag.
You think they'll charge guys like Josh Koscheck for tickets to that show?
No, they just won't be able to get them. I think that if they're not sold out. But yeah, I guess if so, yeah, they probably will. No. Josh Koscheck can get in. I'm just
he needs to pay.
But if, as far as like bringing a couple of friends, maybe he can get one friend in. But I don't think he'll be getting more than that.
Yeah. So you may go down for that show.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
James Storm just powerbombed Hernandez off the ladder.
This is quite the flag match here we're having.
It looks like it's much better than their match last time. And actually, from what I gather, the wrestling match, because the Daniel Sabin match, when I watched the crowd seemed that they were really excited about that match. So I think that they had a real good match. Let's go to Steve in California. Oh, no. Take that back. We're going to go to Todd in St. Paul. Todd, what's going on?
Hey, Dave. Hey, Brian.
Hey, what's going on?
I want to talk about that 60 Minutes piece a little bit. I agree with the other guy. I thought it was really fair. It was really, really positive. They did sneak in the typical bit about the Dana White coming up with the rule changes.
I can't believe they did that. I'm going to kill them. I swear I'm going to write the guy who did it a letter, because I told him specifically, do not fall for that.
It wasn't as overt as the Boston newspaper. It was like one sentence. Dana White came in and changed the rules, and then they
changed any rules. Although I give obviously everyone gives Dana White, or anyone should give Dana White credit for
maybe they changed the rules of promoting.
Yeah, well, they gave him a lot of credit for that. They said if you have ever seen UFC in your living room, you have this guy to thank, and then they introduced Dana White.
Yeah.
They never mentioned anything about specific buy rate numbers, but they mentioned probably 3 or 4 times that that special beat out a Major League playoff game.
They didn't mention the 700,000?
No, they didn't say that.
Wow.
Somebody said that they did say that.
No, not that I heard. They said the baseball playoff game several times, though. It was so positive, though, that I was hoping Jim Lampley saw this, because they did extensively mention how mixed martial arts fighters have less brain damage than boxers, and how it's
That's fair, because that is true.
Yeah, right. And what was really impressed me is like Milich and Gracie and Hughes were all so articulate and well spoken. It's not like watching Michael Spinks or Trevor Burbick or some of these boxers that have taken so many headshots.
Milich is a great guy too, and Hughes, Hughes is he speaks well. Petey Williams is in, by the way. I think he just gave Conan a low blow. Conan beat up Gail Kim. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. They said that IFL. They mentioned that the IFL went public and is worth $120 million.
Isn't that like sort of weird, like amazing, or whatever you call it?
It seems like it just started.
It went public like a week ago.
Right.
The stock skyrocketed off the news that they were going to be featured in 60 Minutes, and it's going to skyrocket tomorrow off the news that they're worth $120 million today.
And one last thing I wanted to ask you about, with the show being out now and his contract is up in February, is it?
Yeah, it's up. Yeah.
Well, I know what the plan was, with WrestleMania 23 being in Detroit and the anniversary. Was it going to be Show and Hogan, or is that still
that's definitely a working idea, but it's far from a definite, because they still have to. By the way, there's a sign in the stands that said ECW RIP 2001. That was kind of cute, but it's far from a definite, because Hogan is not on board. Although I'm pretty sure that in his mind he's James Storm just hit Chris Harris with a beer bottle in the face. So I have a feeling that
ouch.
The breakup.
Yeah.
Remember when people were appalled at the idea of AMW breaking up, and now it's like, okay.
Yeah, when they first decided to break them up a year and a half ago, I remember thinking how absolutely stupid it would be. But you know what, though? I mean, both of those guys, I feel sorry for them, because, Chris has a chance, James has no chance by himself.
I think so? I'm not positive about that. I would almost think the other way around.
Storm has some.
I think Storm has way more charisma.
He's got charisma, but they won't push him as a single, and he'll be exposed as a single also in the ring. They'll have their grudge matches against each other, but then what do?
Yeah.
They just.
Well, it could be a swerve. They just team up again.
How about this swerve that Storm's the one who's the babyface, and it's completely messed up?
I can actually see them doing that, though. He's the drinker.
Yeah, the way that it's being portrayed with Harris selling the beer bottle thing, it looks like if you're, selling the eye, his eyes hurt and everything. They're doing this right now. It certainly looks like Gail Kim and Chris Harris are going babyface, and Storm will be going heel. So that's another angle.
Wait a second. 2-on-1 attacked one guy with a foreign object to the eyeball, and that guy's the heel?
Storm, let's see, what's Storm? Storm is like yelling, and let's see, Storm and Petey Williams look like they're yelling, so maybe Petey Williams, I don't know what's going on here exactly.
So he's good. Isn't wrestling supposed to be something you can watch without having to speak the language because it's so universal?
Well, it's supposed to be something, exactly where you could show this tape like in Afghanistan or in Bangladesh.
And they would understand.
And it's the fighting and the body language is universal, so you get it right away.
The diabolical man and the good man.
Exactly.
Here we're utterly confused.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Well, anyway, it looks like Chris Harris has got an eye injury, and James Storm, I don't know what's going on with James Storm, and LAX, I think that they're going to, they got the Mexican flag, so they're going to have to play the Mexican national anthem, and Conan's cutting a promo.
Dave?
Yes.
There you are.
I'm here.
We're running down the UFC card, but you're back, so I guess we shall move on. Okay,
in the ring, the James gang is out, dressed up as Triple H, and BG's got this face mask on that makes him look like he looks like this really ugly 80-year-old version of Triple H.
Wow. Like Raven at the last couple of shows?
And I'm trying to figure out exactly who Billy Gunn looks like. Oh, and they've got some people coming out. It looks like, is it the fake cheerleaders? They're going to do a cheerleaders angle. Oh, my God. This is either going to be really bad or really good.
Have you spoken to anybody about the point of the VKM segments?
Oh, yes, constantly.
Well, what is the point?
To get attention and to, get attention. Because it worked in remember when they did, the same guys did it in 1998 and the wrestling war turned around?
In 1998 there was like a war that everybody believed.
I recognize that.
Doesn't, okay.
They did a skit where, let's see, Billy Gunn's looking like he's going to super kick one of his guys, and then he stopped. Oh, well, whatever it is. Let's go to Steve in California. Steve, what's going on?
I haven't been able to listen to your show for a while, so I have a couple questions.
Okay. Oh, no, the fat guy's back. And he's in a thong, Bryan. He looks as bad as Christopher. He looks worse than Christopher DeJoseph. Much worse.
Seriously now, come on.
And he's dancing. And he's dancing just the same way. This is really bad. I mean, this is like really bad. Oh, God. I can't believe this.
I have a report that this man is fatter than Krista George.
He's definitely fatter. And, oh, my God, they're going to make, he's going to give the Spirit Squad guy a super kick. And it was, of course, the worst super kick in history.
And the guy's old.
And the guy's old. They're putting him over. You know, like the DX guys. Now, what's going to happen now? I don't even want to know what's going to happen now. All right. Well, Steve, I'm sorry that we had to interrupt you for this hideous skit.
But fat guys are cool.
What?
Fat guys are cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Not in thongs.
Well, they are, you know.
Not in thongs.
Yeah. Okay, I got a question. The Marufuji run?
What?
What was worse, the Retail run or the Marufuji run?
Something about Marufuji.
What about Marufuji?
Didn't he just have the title?
Yeah, Marufuji lost the title to Misawa earlier today at Budokan Hall.
Yeah. Whose run was better? Was the Marufuji's run looked at it as a failure, kind of like Rikeo's, or no?
What?
He's basically wondering whose run was better, his or Ricchio's.
His. Ricchio's wasn't, I would say, Ricchio's was meant to be a serious, new superstar creating run, and it didn't work out that way at all.
Yeah,
whereas this one was more of an educational run, and I think in that sense, it may have served its purpose. And certainly the Marufuji Kenta match, blew away any matches Ricchio had, because Ricchio really didn't have very good matches that I remember when he was champion.
Yeah, I know. Okay, also, how's Hayabusa now?
Who? Oh, Hayabusa? Hayabusa's, I think he's still in the wheelchair. He doesn't make a lot of appearances at wrestling shows, but,
last I heard he was able to move some digits and stuff.
Yeah.
I think he can move a little bit.
Yeah, he can
Wasn't there an angle where he actually stood up or something of that nature?
Oh, I heard something about that.
Maybe. He doesn't walk or anything like that. I know he sings.
Oh, wow. Okay, also, I've heard you mention it on the show. I've heard about, like, a work, shoot, and Pride. Is that BS, or...
I don't think
in what sense?
Decade.
Like, in Pride, a work, shoot. Like,
they've had work matches in Pride, but not in a long time.
Okay.
The early Pride was 50% worked. The first show, and then the percentage went a lot lower, and then pretty much disappeared. The works pretty much disappeared after a couple of years.
Oh, okay. Also, I heard of a match where someone got KO'd from the guard, the guy on top.
That has happened. I cannot remember the fight, but I know that's happened.
I know Rampage almost got KO'd. What's his name?
Ricardo Arona?
Yeah, Ricardo Arona.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the match people talk about.
Yeah, I don't remember that happening. I just remember the only thing I remember on that match was the powerbomb finish.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah,
No, but
I mean, everyone remembers that. So.
Yeah, he axe kicked him a few times, and right before, and he looked kind of out.
Yeah.
Okay. What about Tito Liddell? Who do you think's going to win?
Liddell. I think Liddell will win.
Okay.
By knockout, probably by round 3.
Round 3.
Yeah, just if I'm going to make a guess, yeah.
If they did the Vanderlei Silva Liddell, who do you think there?
Boy. It depends on the rules. But I think that Liddell would have the edge. I think that Liddell's got the strong chin, and I think Liddell might take a lot of shots because Vanderlei's so aggressive. I don't know if Liddell would be able to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I think that if he can fight a disciplined fight, that Vanderlei's undisciplined fight will get him in trouble. And the one thing is Liddell's got the power, and when he does tag him, he'll drop him. So I would say Liddell.
Cool. Okay. Here's the last one. Does Ralph Gracie kind of have heat with the other Gracies that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of. There's always little bits of heat and things like that, but I've never. I mean, it's possible. I just don't know.
Yeah, I'm from the same town where both Caesar and Ralph run schools, and it just seems like there's like a big heat there.
It wouldn't be surprising. I mean, because they're probably considering each other competition.
Yeah. Well, I think it's other stuff, but I've heard stuff, but I don't want to, say it on air.
Yeah.
Just curious about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, thanks, man.
Okay, very welcome.
They may have pulled in Eric Bischoff on TV a moment ago.
What happened?
Challenged Vince.
Oh, to a fight?
I don't know all the details, but I believe that's what happened. Somebody fill us in.
Oh, no. All I know is that everyone's cheering, but, I don't know if that's...
Well, that probably means they did.
Yeah.
Remember Rhino's promo? They went nuts.
Yeah, I mean, the people in the building, they love that stuff, and I'm not against it, because, I think that it's, especially on a 3-hour pay-per-view, I think it's okay. On like, if you spend, on a TV show, when you don't have a lot of time, I don't know. I mean, BG's yelling and screaming.
Okay, unless somebody is messing with me, they want a shoot match.
Oh, God.
With DX, and they're willing to offer $1 million.
They're getting a standing ovation, I'll tell you that. You know what? I mean, wouldn't it be a lot smaller? In the old days of wrestling, you would have Kurt Angle or Samoa Joe do that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You wouldn't have.
This could be a 4-way tragedy.
Yeah, but you know what? You can do that because they're never going to accept. Because Shawn's not a fighter, and everyone knows that, and Triple H isn't going to go into a fight because he's got everything to lose if he gets beat up. So it doesn't matter. It's like it's not gonna happen. But still, in the old days, you know what I mean. That's what you brought in the shooters for, not frickin' Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. But whatever. You think you think it's stupid and you think it's classless. But I've seen stupid and classless and cheap shots work in wrestling for 50 years, and it made Ricky Dozan, so you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The rules of niceness don't necessarily work in wrestling, so if it works, that's fine. I mean, I think it's, obviously it's Bush League, what are you going to say? And there's going to be people who hate it, but, if it gets some attention, whatever. I'll have to watch it, but, if they challenge Vince to a fight, that'd be something different.
Shoot.
What?
A shoot.
Yeah. A shoot. It's a shoot. It's a shoot. Don't you wish that term was never, ever done? We're going to be hearing that one until whatever. It's a shoot. Kurt Angle's going to have a shoot fight with somebody. Let's go to Greg in California. Greg, you're next up. Hello. Greg?
Yeah, good evening.
Yes. What's happening?
Yeah, I had a question for you. It's kind of off topic. But I was wondering, I've been watching it here the last couple of weeks. They're bringing a lot of the guys out from the 80s and 90s,
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened to Lex Luger and Randy Savage? You didn't hear them anymore after the passing of Elizabeth.
Lex Luger is not doing much of... Lex Luger's been in and out of jail for non-payment of child support, and he's been on TNA a couple of times, and not doing indies right now. I haven't seen his name in a while. Randy Savage, of course, hasn't wrestled in many, many years, living in Florida, and Randy Savage has money, so he can, I mean, he's fine. He's doing fine. Lex Luger probably not doing so well.
Yeah, because I heard that he was having problems when they had that thing about Elizabeth. I didn't realize he was so messed up. I was just wondering if he got himself straightened out or what.
I don't know that he has. I know that things got a lot worse after that, between, like the child support stuff and everything like that. And he had an arrest, from when they came when Elizabeth died, and they searched the house and they found, steroids and growth hormone. So, I think that may still be being held over him. I'm not sure. So, things have not been good for Lex Luger in the last many years, since the death of Elizabeth. But Savage, I mean, I don't know what to say about him. He's around, he's alive, he seems, I'm sure he's in no financial problems. I think he's got a new girlfriend who's closer to his age, and that's pretty much all.
Come on now.
Closer than the last one. I don't know how, so.
There's one other question I was wondering. Me and Buddy were having a debate here a while back. What would you say is the average salary of the average wrestler? That's a big name one.
Well, give me a wrestler because
there is no average.
Because there is no like the average in TNA isn't that high. The average on the Indies is like $10 a night or $25 a night. And in WWE the average is several $100,000 a year. So what do you mean by an average wrestler?
Well, somebody like a Haas who would be another one? Brain fade. Here we go. Somebody who's not at the top of the pinnacle, like a Triple H or something like that.
Charlie. I mean, I think Charlie Haas would be 150 to 2 maybe closer to 150.
I'd say closer to 150.
Yeah, right now, yeah. Because they're not. I'm sure Haas doesn't have a big downside, and he's not getting a lot. Actually, he might not even be 150 because he's probably not getting a lot of work. Because he's not on all those house shows either. So, but yeah, 150 probably, maybe.
My partner was closer than I was.
Anyway, the three-way for the NWA title with Abyss, Sting, and Christian Cage is in the ring right now, and after that, only the Samoa Joe Kurt Angle match. And amazing, the IFL. If there were the worth of things is quite astounding, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah.
Because you saw their finances, didn't you?
I did.
Yes. And
I didn't buy any stock.
What?
I didn't buy any stock.
Yeah, they have a lot of media growth. I mean, I'm sure of it over the next year where you're going to be seeing, because just an example, last night there was HBO boxing, and in the morning paper, they had the results of the top 3 matches or so on that card, and come Wednesday when they have the Spike UFC, I mean, there's not going to be anything in our paper, on the results of that, or, I don't think that they will cover Tito and Chuck. I'm almost sure they've never, our paper has never covered the results of a UFC yet. And, Tito and Chuck, is going to be bigger than any boxing, it'll outdo any boxing match this year, including De La Hoya Mayorga when it comes to buys. So, there's still, it's kind of amazing to me that there's this lag time of, whatever it is, what you would call popularity with media acceptance, and there's still a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Looks like that match is over, by the way, that 5-way. So I don't know. I don't know. I think Senshi won. So anyway, maybe you only had to eliminate some people, or maybe could it be eliminated by going over the top ropes? Because I
heard the bell ringing in an announcement, so it's definitely over.
Yeah, because Eric Young is in his robe waiting for his bikini contest right now. So anyway, but yeah, I read that article, and it's funny because when I first heard about it, I mean, people who had sent it to me were negative about the article, and I read the article, and I thought it was a good article. I thought it was they didn't like the fact that he was kind of saying he's not really a UFC fan and he's a boxing fan, but in the end he said that he's open-minded enough to know that he thinks this thing's going to replace boxing. The other thing that I think is interesting is I don't know that I don't know which is threatened more by UFC, or if either is threatened at all by UFC when it comes to boxing or professional wrestling. But you don't see any media. I'm not saying any, but you see very little media talking about UFC's threatening professional wrestling. They're all saying threatening boxing. And from a demographic standpoint, the UFC audience and the pro wrestling audience are far more similar than the UFC audience and the boxing audience.
Wouldn't you think that it would be more of a threat to... Wouldn't it make sense to be more of a threat to boxing, though?
Logically, it would make sense to be more of a threat to boxing because they're both combat fighting sports, and the idea that the people my age grew up with was that the boxers were the toughest real fighters, and obviously UFC...
And this is like the evolution.
Yeah, UFC threatens that vision, you know, and that's one of the reasons why the boxing people resent it. But at the same time, the rules of UFC are much closer to the, quote, rules of professional wrestling, and the audience of professional wrestling that wanted to take professional wrestling somewhat serious, even though they understood what it was, the cartoonish aspect of current professional wrestling, because I know with all of my friends, I mean, you know, they've all stopped watching wrestling and they watch UFC, and it hasn't, you know, changed their interest, yay or nay, in boxing one bit. I mean, they, you know, we still watch the boxing matches.
You know what I think part of it might be is that
Being international, they're looking at running England very soon, probably as soon as April, and they already have, you know, they have an office there already in England. It's staffed and everything. You know, to build for, you know, but they want to do several shows this year in England, and then of course go to the rest of Europe. So there's a pin attempt here with Sanjay Dutt pinning Austin Starr, but Austin Starr just kicked out. We are going to start taking phone calls right now. So we're going to go to Ed in San Antonio. Ed, what's going on?
Hey guys, what I want to talk about is you guys mentioned the Christmas in Iraq a little while ago, and I've been checking out like the blogs and the articles on the www.com, and I was wondering, you know, that they do a lot of sacrifices to go over there just in the trip itself, and I was wondering, do they get, I know it's like a charity thing, but do they get paid for this? Do they get bonuses for sacrifices?
The wrestlers?
Yes.
I don't think so.
So everything's totally
it's a voluntary thing that you're supposed to do, and you know, obviously, like with Rob Van Dam not doing it, you know, there's a lot of trouble. You know, you're pretty much, I don't say doomed, but you're in rough shape if you don't do it. But it's like voluntary that you have to do.
Okay, I know like Jim Van Dam refused to go last year too.
Yeah, he refused to go last year, and then he refused again this year when they put even more pressure on him. And you know, so I think I don't know that. You know, I don't know what Van Dam's relationship long-term with the company is going to be. Austin Starr just did a 450 and is pinning Sanjay Dutt, so Sanjay Dutt is out now. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you think, I've always been curious to why they don't do more of a push like on stuff like, you know, the Hollywood shows, the insider shows with them trying to promote the Christmas in Iraq. And
they actually do. I mean, they promote that show really hard. I mean, just wait until the week of Christmas. They'll be everywhere promoting it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. In fact, there's already articles out now that have been written as of the taping on Friday. So
yeah,
the push is just beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's going to be on a regular Friday night.
No, it's going to be on.
It'll be Raw.
Christmas Day on the Raw time slot. Raw's going to be taped out. You know, it was taped.
Oh, it's for the okay.
It'll be in the Raw time slot on Christmas night.
Okay. And also, in regards to UFC, I read that article you made note on your update, the one from here on San Antonio.
Yeah.
And I was actually when I saw the headline, I was kind of worried it was going to be, because you know how these older guys are. They always like to just rip UFC apart. They don't understand it. And this guy actually, you know, he's a big boxing historian, and he actually, you know, it was a good article. And now you got the 60-minute piece. I mean, I think UFC is really, really on the verge of really, really breaking through more than they already are.
I will say this. I think, by the way, Senshi looks like he's got Austin Starr pinned with an inside cradle, so he's still around. I think that there's going to be, how's it going, everybody? This is Meltzer. We're going to spend 2 hours talking pro wrestling and mixed martial arts. Of course, we're going to be covering the TNA pay-per-view live. In the second hour, we will be joined by somebody from TNA, most likely Eric Young, who's going to be in a bikini contest, so his odds of injury hopefully are not too high, and unless, of course, he's called in for a run-in late in the show, and that nobody knows about. So anyway, Bryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
What's new?
Oh, not a whole lot.
Oh.
It's the, what is it now, the third straight week of pay-per-views on a Sunday night?
Fourth.
And another one next week.
Right. Next week would be the last of the 5 straight weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what a pay-per-view tonight. Joe Angle 2. Too early?
yeah, several months too early.
Here's a question for you.
Oh, by the way, if anyone has seen the 60 Minutes piece on UFC, because we're on the West Coast, so we have not seen it, you can call us at 1-800-878-PLAY, because that could be based on the tone. I mean, it's fairly important. It's the biggest, probably the biggest media thing that they've ever had as far as the number of people that would see it, because everybody over the age of 35 watched 60 Minutes, which is basically the entire non-fan base of UFC.
Should have aired at 4 o'clock our time, so 7 Eastern.
Right.
I haven't heard anything about it yet, so I wonder if it got bumped.
Would have been a last-second bump because they were still plugging it on the football games today.
Okay.
So, anyway, if you saw it, give us a call. And, of course, this pay-per-view is just starting. It's a 5-way with Jay Lethal and Alex Shelley, Senshi, Sanjay Dutt, and Austin Starr. In the dark match, it was... Well, not the dark match, but the pre-show match was Ron Killings and Lance Hoyt beat Serotonin, which is Frankie Kazarian, Maverick, Matt Bentley, and a new look Johnny Devine and Raven caned Frankie Kazarian because he lost the fall, so I guess that's the gimmick there. Quite a lot going on since we were last year, including the ECW pay-per-view last Sunday, which will, I had some friends who missed it, and afterwards they said, we missed history, didn't we? It's like, yeah, you did. It was a terrible show, and Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon had a falling out the next day, and Paul Heyman is, I don't know what he is exactly, but he's no longer the head writer of ECW.
He's at home.
Nor on the writing team, and he may not even be in the company. I don't think that, I guess we'll know tomorrow when Vince McMahon gets back from Iraq. By the way, the Christmas in Iraq show for Raw was actually taped on Friday. And nothing big happened there. I mean, as far as angles and stuff, they don't do angles, big angles on the show. It's just everyone just entertaining the troops. So there's no big news coming out of that one. And, of course, next week is Armageddon and Pride and WWE. Well, I don't think that WWE is going to buy Pride, but WWE is definitely looking into getting into mixed martial arts. That doesn't mean that they will, but they are very much looking at it. And Pride is... very much looking at selling. So,
don't forget UFC is coming up Wednesday.
Wednesday night UFC with Diego Sanchez and Joe Riggs from the Miramar Air Base near San Diego, and Josh Cossack, Jeff Jocelyn, and what was the other big one? Carl Parisian and Drew Fickett. And I think there's one more. It's a 4-match TV show. But they're all competitive matches, and I actually have been looking forward to this Wednesday show because I think it's going to be pretty good. Raw tomorrow is going to have Edge against Triple H, and John Cena against Armando Alejandro Estrada, and building up the big John Cena Kevin Federline match on January the 1st, and not really much else new as far as the WWE is concerned. Can't really think of course, the financials. No giant news out of the financials. They're not about to go out of business anytime soon. And, of course, we had Strikeforce here on Friday night, which was an interesting night. It was, I guess overall it was a good show. The crowd was bigger than I expected and bigger than promoter Scott Coker expected as well. So in that sense, it was pretty much of a success. Show certainly had its low points and its high points. I got to tell you, that Bobby Southworth Vernon Tiger White match.
That was quite a report you wrote on that one.
That match was horrible. It's a different degree of horrible. I was at the Tim Sylvia match with Jeff Monson, and this was so much worse.
And you were at the last Strikeforce.
What?
You were at the last Strikeforce, too, with the Vitor fight.
Yeah, that was a terrible match, too. I think that one was terrible because it was two main eventers that weren't trying, and they were obviously there not to get hurt. This one, I don't think there was any lack of effort. I think that Vernon White was just in a funk and shut the match down, and Bobby Southworth was just going to do enough to win, which wasn't all that much that he needed to do. So he didn't do all that much, and it was 5 rounds, which 5 rounds are great for championship matches, except when they are like that. So we had that, and Kurt Angle says he's going to do a shoot fight, which he never is, by the way. I think most people have recognized that by now, but he's still saying he's going to anyway.
Looks like 60 Minutes is on right now.
Okay, and?
So, just talking to Dana White. He's the man we can thank for the new UFC, that sort of thing.
Oh, God, if they say that Dana White changed those rules, that's just going to be horrible.
Well, apparently they're going to make the 700,000 announcement, and it's not like that's fully confirmed.
Well, they say it is.
Okay.
You know, I mean, they got their sources, too. It's not like 60 Minutes is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, they certainly have their TV sources, and they certainly have their pay-per-view sources. So they said 700,000 buys for the Matt Hughes BJ Penn match, which is unbelievable if that number's true, because if that is, the Tito and Chuck's going to do over $1 million.
Oh yeah.
Then she just pinned, I think it was Sanjay Dutt. I guess is this an elimination? This must be an elimination match because it's still going, and he didn't pin Sanjay Dutt.
It's always good when the rules are.
Yeah, they were made really clear.
Yeah.
Actually, he didn't pin Sanjay Dutt either because he's now, he just attempted to pin Sanjay Dutt. So he pinned, let's see, he just drop-kicked Jay Lethal, 1, 2, and 3. So it was Jay Lethal who he pinned with one of those Sua drop-kicks, you know, you run and the guy flies after he gets drop-kicked. So anyway, that's where we're at. So I guess it's an elimination match.
60 Minutes mentioned the 700,000 buys and a study saying that MMA was safer than boxing.
It's not safer than boxing.
Well,
what study is this?
I don't know. It was very vague.
Well, the fact that
it's probably the study that came out a couple of months ago that compared injuries and.
Okay, well, if it's the Johns Hopkins study, well, the one thing about that is if they use that, then they pretty much are running a positive piece, because the negative piece would be the one where they say that it's not safer than boxing. But the Johns Hopkins story, the actual number of injuries per capita. For UFC, is slightly higher than boxing, but boxing has more brain injuries,
and
more serious long-term brain problems because of the repeated blows to the head. And there's less concussions in MMA, a lot less concussions than in boxing. But MMA would pick up. You're going to have more injuries, like your knees and your elbows and things like that you're not going to get so often in boxing.
It appears this is all positive. I can't actually hear anything, but.
That's amazing, I guess. Anyway, well then it's a big day for MMA, isn't it?
This has been the year of UFC. I was looking back. I was doing the year in review, and I mean, this is, if anything, it's UFC's year, and UFC is maybe the one company that looks like it has a really positive 2007. As far as TNA and WWE, I don't really see, a lot of growth. Maybe TNA will have, if they get 2 hours, maybe, who knows. But Pride looks like it's doomed. WWE looks like it'll be the same exact thing for another year. TNA, probably largely the same thing. And UFC, there's potential.
I wonder about growth. The thing is, UFC, if they just stay at the level that they're at as far as pay-per-view goes for another year, that'll be just a gigantic success. But I mean, UFC is planning on most of its, or a lot of its